Hi guys, today's video is one that I am so excited to make because we are officially into the holiday season, at least when it comes to eyeshadow palettes, and this is like as Christmassy as it gets. This is newest palette from Dede Signature. This is called the Fearless Holiday eyeshadow palette, and when I got this in the mail, I saw a picture of this. I was like, whoa, hang on, that is a beautiful color story and honestly one of the best that I've seen this whole year. And I'm so excited to play with this, and I'm gonna actually show you 4 looks with this palette. I've already done 2 so far, and the reason I want to do 4 is because number one, I feel like this palette has potential to become one of my absolute favorite palettes of the year, and I want to make sure that it is justified to be put as high up in the ranking as this probably will be, because so far I really like this palette. Number 2, because the color story is amazing and I simply just want to play with it. And yeah, I don't know if I have any others, but that's basically it. So I'm just really happy that this was one of the holiday palettes that I got to play with this year. This is going to be launching on November 28th if you're interested. I'm gonna have this video up for sure before that, so just, you know, put that in your calendar if it's a palette that you are interested in. I also do have an affiliated code with the brand. It's just Annette and it will save you some money. But what I'm gonna do is I've so far filmed 2 looks. I'm gonna do 1 look here with you on camera. I'm gonna do another look tomorrow morning, but I'm not gonna have as much time to film tomorrow morning, so I don't want to do any like talking while I do film tomorrow. So I'm just gonna insert whatever look I end up filming tomorrow morning into this video. So I don't know yet what all of the looks are gonna look like. I only know 2 and the one that we're gonna do today. So we're gonna go ahead and jump straight in. Now this is the first palette from Dede Signature that is magnetic, so that is something to keep in mind. I think that is a really good idea. And this is apparently a new matte formula from her as well, and I definitely feel like there is a difference in the mattes from this palette to the other palettes I have from her. I've always thought that her mattes were like just okay. You know, they've never been my favorites, and I feel like with this new formula, I don't know what she's done. I don't know if all of the mattes in this palette are as good as the ones that I've tried so far, but I freaking love this new formula, and I'm so excited to see what else she's going to come out with in this formula, because I have had the best time with this palette so far, and I'm so excited to keep playing with this, and I just want to have a good time. I think this color story is so fun, so much you can do with it, and I think it's a color story for definitely for people who love color. If you don't like color, this might not be the palette for you, even though you can do some more neutral looks. But because there are so many colorful mattes in this, you need to like color to really be able to get the most out of this palette. And my first thought when I saw this palette was that the mattes they're all sort of the same depth. There are some that are a little bit darker than others, but I think because of the inclusion of this sort of bone colored shade, I really think that you can use this mixed with any of these mattes to make them more into like a transition shade, and then use the actual shade as a deepening shade. And I tried it with, I think it was it this one? I feel like I tried mixing these 2 together to get a bit of a lighter brown, and that worked really well. And I'm tempted to try to do something similar today, but maybe I'll do it in the look that I'm gonna film tomorrow. So you'll see me do it twice, because I feel like it's going to be the best way to get the most out of this palette, especially if you're someone who likes to have lighter transition shades to shades. Having something like this in here with a neutral undertone that can literally be mixed into all of these other mattes is so helpful. So I really like that about it. Now, what I want to do today is I think I want to do like orangey reddish look, because I really want to test out the reds and see if they lean red or pink on the eyes. I'm hoping they're going to lean more red. And from when I swatched them, they definitely seemed like they would be more on the red side. So I'm excited to test that out. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and start. I do have a couple of shades here. Like, I don't think I've used these 2 yet, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to use them in this look, but tomorrow's look I'll definitely use one of these 2. So you'll see me use most of this palette, but there will be a couple of shades I haven't dipped into. So we're gonna start with, I think I'm gonna start with the orange, and then sort of use the reds as deepening shades and see how that goes. I also want to just see like how layerable these shades are, because I haven't like obviously been able to use all of them, but so far I've had a really good experience with this palette, and I'm just having the best time with this. So I'm excited to keep having the best time with this, because it is such a fun, to me at least, color story that is very inspiring. And I don't feel like it screams Christmas, but it's still Christmas enough that it's a Christmas palette, you know? And I just think that this is a really well thought out color story that you can do a lot with. I love the inclusion of all of the shimmers. I think that there is a place for all of them, and I don't think any of the shades are too repetitive or too similar. Even though there are shades that are, you know, in the same color family, I don't think that any of them were like not needed, if that makes sense. I just think it's a really fun palette. So I'm not taking this orange all the way out because I do want to do the reds out there, and I just try not to layer too many shades on top of each other if possible, because the more you layer, obviously, the harder it is for the shadows to stick. If you hear my fire alarm beeping, it wasn't this morning, I swear to God. It just started like right before I started filming, and I'm like, I cannot be bothered doing something about that right now because it's not that bad. I mean, so far so good. You saw how pigmented the shade is. It goes on really nicely, blends out super well. I'm gonna next take the red shade, which is the one called Holiday Flavor, and we'll see how red this is, if it leans red or orange or pink. And I'm just gonna do that in the outer corner. Now again, I am using my P. Louise base, which I find to be more of a neutral-ish tone for me, and it does seem to be blending out a little bit more on the pink side while still keeping the red, so maybe there is a little bit of pinkish undertones in this eyeshadow primer. I'm not really sure, but also it could just be like my skin and my undertone. It is really hard to find a red that just stays pure red and doesn't blend out to pink at all. And I do think I'm gonna be able to make this look more like a red than a pink, especially when deepening it up. That's a really pretty color. Like, I really like that. That's beautiful. I love how this is looking so far. I am going to take some of this shade under my eye as well. And this is turning out to be a little bit more of an aggressive shade here than I was planning. A bit more of a graphic shade, but that's okay. That's totally fine. I'm going to be able to work with that. So I think you can definitely see it underneath my eyes that it is blending out a little more pink, which, again, kind of to be expected, but I'm curious to see when I go in with the other red shade, which is called Fireplace. This one has more of a cool tone, I feel like, undertone to it, maybe even like neutral to cool, and I think I'm gonna be able to really red this up with this shade. So it's not adding the most depth because it's not that different from the crease shade, but you can see a difference for sure between this side and this side. And I think if I had only used this red, this would have been more red than pink. But since I just wanted to try and see how blendable and buildable these shades are, since it is a new matte formula, I really want to test it out. And so far, I'm having a really good time with these mattes. Like, they are doing exactly what I want them to do. They're playing very nicely with my P. Louise primer, which is important. So I think this is where I'm going to leave it with the mattes. We're going to move on to the shimmers. I do have my glitter primer in front of me now, so I am going to use that. I'm going to pop on a little bit of that before we do the shimmers. And I'm gonna start with the, I think the orange shimmer, because that's the one I want the most of. So I'm gonna use this one, and this one on my lid. I'm gonna start with the shade, which is the shade called Sprinkles. I love that name, that is the cutest. And I'm just gonna do that pretty much, oh, that is so pretty. Wow, that is beautiful. What I'm really hoping that DedeSignature is going to become for me is the brand that has both my kind of mattes and my kind of shimmers, which I still can't think of a brand that for me in my head is like perfect with both and exactly what it is that I'm into and looking for right now. But honestly, so far this palette has both and I am so excited about it. I've always been such a big fan of DedeSignature shimmers. I think they're so beautiful, so easy to work with. They're sparkly and shiny and a little bit on the glittery side, a little bit on the sheer side, which I just absolutely love. They look so good on the eyes. They wear so well. And now with this new matte formula, if it is as good as I'm hoping it is, you know, when I keep trying this out, I haven't had any issues so far. I think that this palette is just wonderful, truly. So I am going to use some of the red shimmer as well, but I first want to do the lighter one because I just want to keep using the same brush and it's a little bit easier to clean off the orange than it's going to be to clean off the red. So I'm just going to take some of this, which I've used the shade in every look because it really is the only inner corner shade. So sorry about that, but I didn't really feel like I had much of a choice. So this definitely is leaning a little bit more on like the cool toned silvery side, but it does have a little bit of warmth to it. So I do feel like it's still going to work with this look, but it definitely is going to make it a little bit more cool tone, which I don't really mind that. I think it's gonna look good still. I feel like this shade would be such a pretty, like just all over the shade with nothing else on the lid, just like a one and done shade, which is something I used to never do, but these kind of shades are just perfect for that, and I think it would just blend out really well too. And then with the same brush, just wiping it off a little bit, I'm gonna use the shade called Festive, which is the which is the red shimmer. And I'm just gonna do that on the outer corner, basically just layering it over the top of the mattes because I want to test it out, and it's going to add a little bit of depth as well. This is definitely more of a satiny shade, which I actually quite like because it is on the darker side. I find that for me, with darker shimmers, I like them to be more on the satiny side because I'm always going to be using them in the outer corners. So it's, to me, more of a merging shade. I don't really like using darker shimmers all over my lid. I don't really do smoky eyes that often. So for me, this is the perfect formula for this kind of shade because I could just use it to do exactly what I'm doing now. And oh, that looks so good. I love this. Wow. I think I'm just going to go ahead and finish off. This is so pretty. Oh, this is gonna look so good when it's all done. So I put on some pretty big lashes because I felt like this look really needed it because it was very winged out and very dramatic, and I love how this turned out. Now, the lashes are not, I feel like they're just not even. I hate when that happens, like they're the same lash. Does anyone else, when you wear lashes, you buy a pair of lashes and then the lashes don't look exactly the same and you're like, why? Like, why are you not the same? Anyway, let's talk more about this palette. I'm actually gonna just play some music while I show you the other looks that I've done with this because I feel like I've really told you a lot about the formulas already, so enjoy the looks and I'll sum up after you have seen them.
Took a swing at a wrecking ball and I prayed for my downfall, and I found a way to reconcile, cause in my heart it's not worthwhile. It's a bloody battlefield where sun go down, others heal. In the end it's all the same. All you can do is play the game. Oh, do we say goodbye? Refuse to question why. I'm sad to say I'm sorry, so lie. Pretend that you're okay. Swear that you will stay. Keep trying for one day. Flames burning, only dark remains. I cover up every part of my skin, oh, cause I don't like the person within, oh. I know I'm the one to blame. All I can do is take the shame. Oh, do we say goodbye? Refuse to question why. I'm too sad to say I'm sorry, so lie and pretend that you're okay. Swear that you will stay. Keep trying for one day.
Okay, you're gonna have to let me know down below which look was your favorite. I can't say because I don't know what all the looks are gonna look like yet, but overall, I freaking love this palette. I think it is amazing. I think the quality is so good. I think the color story is magnificent, and I'm so happy I have this in my collection. And wait for this to end up really high in my rankings. It might even be in the top 5, and you might even get another dedicated video with this palette. Who knows? But so far, This has so much potential, and I just need to go through like all of the palettes that I've tried this year and see how it stacks up against this, because I feel like there are some palettes in my head that I don't remember that came out this year, that was maybe, you know, launched in January or whatever. Like, I have an idea in my mind which palettes are going to end up top, but I'm not completely sure, but this has potential to end up super high. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you want to see some more Dede Signature content, I will put my playlist up on the screen. And if you are new, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.